everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wrist Cheese Radio Podcast, your place for horological hot takes, taboo topics, and often unpopular watch opinions. My name is Schmidt, and I'm joined, as always, by my good-looking co-host. You guys know him. You love him, Mr. Bro Dinky. Bro, what's going on?
Well, it's the eve of Easter Sunday. We're recording. Not our typical day, but regardless, tomorrow I'm going to be a busy man.
Yes, as will I. A lot of Easter egg hunts and cooking and all kinds of crazy stuff. So,
yeah, so
I'm sure it's the same for you.
Keep me in your prayers on that one.
Are you prepping food for a big banquet, or you got stuff going on, or is this
we have a brunch
stuff?
in the morning and a massive banquet dinner at night. So,
okay, so nothing for the family, just more for other rich people.
I got to get the Easter basket thing going before I leave for work. So,
I gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, at least the Easter Bunny will have visited your two boys. That'll be nice.
Yeah, definitely. Aside from that, it's been a pretty typical week. I did venture out into the city on Tuesday, hung out with the guys from Wrist Check Podcast. That was fun. Let me tell you, that was a fun experience because they have a very legit setup. Like, there's a whole
I've seen some of their videos,
studio and all, and you could tell why they come out so good. In talking, I was like, I record in my basement next to a hot water heater. So,
well, I don't think we've ever really had any audio issues. I mean, other than the first few episodes that we recorded, but I think we fixed a lot of that stuff. But Wrist Check Podcast, it comes out always good. So
yeah, so that was a good time. I think that's going to be out on Wednesday, so keep an eye out for that.
Okay, so you're dropping 2 pods this week.
Yeah, not uncommon for me in my days. Sometimes as much as 3.
Yeah, for sure, man. You gotta spread the
make
love
the rounds
and spread the knowledge. Yeah, absolutely. So today we got kind of a little bit of a different subject than what we normally cover. This is kind of an expansion of a conversation that you and I have had before, many episodes back. And we had always kind of thought about rolling it out into a full-fledged episode, but we just never really figured it would be the good time to do it. And just now it seems like it's a good time to revisit the conversation and kind of bring you guys into the fold. So today we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite subject that's not really watch related per se. And that's brand ambassadors. I don't think anybody's really covered this before on a podcast, at least not anything that I've heard anybody cover, but it'll be kind of interesting. So without further ado, bro, let's jump into it.
Yeah. As somebody who's in the past year or so really branched out into more general podcasts, I only really even got into them because I guess watch podcasts were a thing. And then I started making my way out to different people. And I got more of a feel for what podcasting is. It's really just people eavesdropping on a conversation between 2 or more jerks that is mostly irrelevant to everybody else listening. So this is pretty quintessential as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, we've brushed over this one before. And I think this is a tough one to tackle because it almost feels like there's a little bit of a revolving door at times with brands. I mean, even when we were just talking before, we were like, isn't this one with them? No, they were. Now they're not. It's hard to keep up. But I mean, even at least just knowing that they were on board with someone or they had an affiliation with this person, like it gives you a feel for maybe what that brand's trying to do or how they're trying to position themselves. And so I guess we're just going to roll down a bunch of them. And again, I don't know if all of these are current, the ones that I've either come up with or that I've remembered, but at some point there was an affiliation between these groups.
Yeah, and it's kind of important to note that like we did do some research for this. So it's not just like we're shooting from the hip, but a lot of the stuff when it comes to brands and kind of how they communicate some of these messages, it's not always directly clear. And as bro kind of mentioned, there is a lot of ways a revolving door per se for brands with regards to their representation. So cool. If you have somebody you want to start it off with, bro, let's do it.
I think going off of somebody I've mentioned previously, but I guess not even just him, but their whole brand lineup, I guess. Man, I know I crap on Tudor a lot, but like Old Man Beckham, like he's more TMZ than he is like known for what he originally was famous for nowadays,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
right? And like now here's the thing, right? You had Beckham, they had Gaga, I guess that's no mas.
Nope. Yep.
I don't see her anymore. And then they got that Jay Chu guy who I honestly thought he was in BTS or whatever, that K-pop band, but that's completely different. He is a pop star though,
Yeah, yeah. He
apparently.
is a king of Asian pop, as they say on the website.
But now,
I have no idea who he is. I don't listen to his music. But apparently he's important enough to be the second out of three Tudor ambassadors
well, follow me
that are
here,
current.
right? Beckham, Lady Gaga, pop star guy. Is Tudor marketing to ladies mostly in that regard? Right? Beckham's Mr. Dreamboat. You got a pop star, and then you got Lady Gaga, who is, I guess, beloved by a lot of people. But I don't know what their angle is.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think that's kind of the tricky thing with ambassadors. It's just like in some ways, that this is a way for brands to kind of like unlock a certain different market demographic or certain area of penetration that they really haven't gotten to yet. And I remember when Gaga first became an ambassador for them, and I was kind of like, I just don't understand.
I guess that
But
was the Born to Dare angle. I don't know.
and again, I imagine in some ways it was successful to some degree for them. So it was fine. But I mean, as it stands right now, there's three current ambassadors, and it looks like Gaga has run her course. So right now we have Old Man Beckham, we got Jay Chu, and then we have the Australian All Blacks rugby team, which apparently like the entire team comprises one ambassador, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think a lot of times the brand ambassadors are really trying to represent like a certain demographic. Like maybe Jay Chu is Tudor's link to the eastern part of the globe, right? It's just an area that we don't understand because obviously China, Asia, those are major markets for watch brands, and maybe this guy is extremely beloved in that demographic in that area, and maybe this will help reaffirm to other people that Tudor's the watch to go with.
That was what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe they're just trying to touch every corner of the globe here, right? Because if they have that part of Asia marketed to, right, the All Blacks, I believe, are New Zealand.
They're yeah,
Okay.
New
I mean, not
Zealanders,
only that,
yes.
but rugby in general is popular in the Eastern Hemisphere more than it is the Western Hemisphere for sure.
Correct. And it is an international sport, right?
It is
It's
an
kind of like
international sport.
polo or golf. It's played by a lot of different countries around the world, and it's kind of the only place that doesn't do it is the Western world, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, so I was thinking, okay, now you have that covered, right? And then you have Beckham, who is sort of, I mean, he's almost a Western icon
Yeah, as
as
much as he is
as a
and
celebrity. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And now hear me out. I was in the sixth grade, I think, when the Spice Girls came out.
Okay.
I was a Ginger Spice guy.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, Victoria, not my cup of tea.
No, yeah. Yeah.
But funny enough, in the seventh grade, I had to buy a ticket to Spice World in order to sneak into the Replacement Killers. So I did throw some money in her pocket for that.
Okay.
Not that that was a glamorous movie either, but at least I had Chow Yun Fat busting asses. It was a good time, I guess. For a seventh grader. But that's my link to Victoria Beckham.
I mean, see, and I don't really have a link to her. I more have a kind of pseudo link to him. I remember the movie Bend It Like Beckham
Ah,
when that
yes.
came out. Many, many, many moons ago. But again, that's kind of all that I really knew about him. I knew he was a professional soccer player. I knew he was a big deal. I knew he was a global icon, and he's progressively gotten more so. But It's been more so due to like the tattoos and the movie star lifestyle and the kind of like ultra fame that
TMZ.
comes with. Yeah, exactly. I think you said it right. I mean, it's a TMZ type situation, right? Um, and that's, I mean, that's fine. Maybe that's he's very resonant with a born to dare lifestyle. Um, I don't know. It's just not something that for me is all that resonant. But the other thing too that I find so interesting is typically brands when they sign somebody to be an ambassador, it is a legal contract, right? And I think this is something that's often misconstrued. Like this is a legal contract. You're really not supposed to be wearing anything else besides the brand
I
that you
notice he does
represent.
that.
And he does it all the time. He's constantly wearing Rolex, which is,
I don't know
I
if
mean,
that's a no-no or not.
I mean, but think of it this way, like think of it from the other aspect of things, right? Like, so Rolex, obviously the major company, it's Rolex SA. That's the umbrella company. Tudors are part of that.
So I
But
guess if you
from
were a
the
Longines rep and you wore a bunch of Omegas around,
exactly
yeah,
like
that
that's
wouldn't be a good
kind of
look.
the idea, right? Like it's even though they're the same company, the same, they're sister companies, if you will. It would be like somebody from Longines that was a brand ambassador wearing Omega. Like it's just not a thing that people do.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you're not a brand ambassador for very long because now you're conflicting. So it's kind of an interesting thing that he's allowed to get away with it, but I also just don't think that he cares, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's probably not on high on his list of priorities. Like, what am I wearing today? Oh, wait. Gotta satisfy my tutor friends.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess when he's not wearing Rolex, he's leaking prototype watches
Well,
on
that was
online.
that was my question. Was as a brand ambassador, are you allowed to leak trade secrets?
No, absolutely not. Things are still under embargo for forever. I mean, until they're not. So, having worked in the industry and having seen things like that, like these are legal binding contracts. These are NDAs. Like when watch brands release something, they're under embargo until they're not. So for him to like, tease this watch that probably wasn't supposed to be teased until it was ready to be announced, probably caused a lot of issues, to
Well, can
be
you explain the
honest.
embargo thing? So it's basically this is not allowed to be shown until said date has passed.
Correct. It's
Okay.
not allowed to be shown. It's not allowed to be communicated. It's not allowed to be written about until this particular embargo date is lifted.
Okay.
Because
Because
that's basically when the brand has said, we are publicly announcing this. Now you can publish your articles. Now, keep in mind, places like Fratello Watches, a Blog to Watch, they'll meet with, brands ahead of time to see the products, take photos, write their articles, everything like that.
yeah.
But it isn't until the physical embargo is lifted on whatever date and time that they specify that those articles, pictures, whatever videos can be published. It's legally binding. Okay. Like these are NDA type stuff. So that's why when you saw like the stuff with the Moon Swatch and Revolution, why people were like, well, I think maybe it was intentional. I can't imagine that it would be because of all the watch blogs in the world, you would have Revolution leak it and not Fratello, the Speedmaster fan club
Yeah.
enthusiast group. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And I had a
Like,
bunch of people message me who were like, I don't get why this is detrimental. And I'm like, well, I'm sure they had a much more glamorous release prepared than
exactly.
this.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, no brand wanted to have the release posted when it wasn't supposed to be posted, and then all of a sudden everyone's taking screenshots and then reposting those. Like that's not a brand release, because at the end of the day, the brand is in no way in control of it. They don't control the message that they want to control, and they've paid marketing companies and they've paid social media entities. They've paid all of these people to make sure that the announcement is cohesive and on brand, and all of a sudden it looks like the brand is scrambling, right?
Right.
Because somebody got a little bit too trigger happy.
Pew, pew, pew.
So Yeah, man, it's a crazy world with embargoes and things like that. So I don't really know what happened. I certainly don't know what the fallout is from this, but I cannot imagine Waco is probably in a great place right now with Omega and Swatch Group.
But the Bex remains unscathed.
I mean, he does.
Still on the website.
I guess he is still on the website. He still has the T-shirt. He still has the link that says he is an ambassador. So there you go.
I guess jumping from there, you would just go right up the chain of Rolex, and I think they do exactly what they do with their watches. It's kind of just exactly who you would expect, right? It's pretty much it's like people who are very non-abrasive, classy, a lot of golfers.
I mean, you say that, and then you still got Tiger Woods on there. So I don't know about you, but last time I checked, Tiger's kind of an abrasive figure these days. He didn't used to be, but that was also when people were like wildly reporting all his stuff and social media and all that stuff. It wasn't really a thing. But Tiger's still a brand ambassador for them, and he's been on a little bit of a career roller coaster, not just in his performance, but also just like in his lifestyle.
Yeah, I think it's similar to Jordan though. Like I think Nike would never part ways with him despite his gambling issues, despite a lot of his personal struggles. I think it's one of those things where you're like, this guy was a once in a generation type, and I guess we'll let his foray with some interesting people and his supermodel wife coming after him with a golf club
and substances. Yeah, for sure.
I think we'll just let that one slide, given who he is, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, he is and will forever be one of the greatest golfers to ever play the game. I mean, that's just period. But it's very interesting that he is still technically an ambassador, because that's the other thing too that I think so many people they lose sight of is these ambassadors are representatives of your brand, both monetarily and contractually. And like anytime you do something stupid, like they will drop you like a hot sack of potatoes, and It is crazy. It's the same thing if Nike drops somebody from a shoe deal or something like that, because
that's what I'm saying. I think it would be hard for them to drop LeBron. You know what I mean?
Exactly, right, for sure. I mean, again, Tiger is of that caliber where people are going to give him the benefit of the doubt before anything else. So it makes sense. I get it, but it's just very interesting. But yeah, a lot of golfers for sure. They also do a lot of other stuff like equestrian sports. I mean, of course, you have Federer with tennis. Michael Bublé is an ambassador.
An ambassador for Rolex and Seltzer.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I don't know really what else he does, and I don't really know any of his music outside of maybe like the last 10 years. But hey, man, he's wearing that platinum day date, so that's I
always get Bublé and Harry Connick Jr. mixed up. I don't know why.
They have a very similar sound in some ways. They're both kind of like that smooth, just like very crisp vocal sound. But when you see them like looks wise, they look very different.
Funny story, my cousin once took $100 off Harry Connick Jr. on American Idol. Real story.
What do you mean?
I have a cousin who was on American Idol, and Harry Connick Jr. bet him $100, and he won the bet.
No,
on
way.
TV. Yeah.
Huh.
Cousin Sal doesn't listen to this, but
that's Sal. Cool. You would have a cousin Sal.
Of course I would. He's like, my god brother.
That's like very New Yorker, like Long Islander, just like, yeah, cousin Sal, That's funny. Oh my god, that's funny. But yeah, so there you go. Michael Bublé out there wearing platinum day dates. Do you have anybody that's like a favorite ambassador for a brand? Or somebody you would like to see be an ambassador?
I can't lie, man. Hublot, for all the grief they get, they have some fire ambassadors.
Yeah, they kind of do.
They got Djokovic, right? Usain Bolt, that's just gangsta. You would think
one of the fastest men in the world for sure.
You would think he would be on with a chronograph.
Yeah.
right? Somebody with a chronograph, like a
Like
Speedmaster or
like a
something. But
pedigreed
right,
chronograph,
yeah.
not like a Big Bang chrono, right?
No, that's what I was saying. I didn't want to say that Hublot doesn't make
A
chronographs,
Zenith
but I
El
mean,
Primero or something
yes,
like that. Yeah,
exactly. That would
exactly.
be actually sick. Yeah, no, they have some great ambassadors. That and then I don't know what their connection is to Floyd Mayweather, but he wears their name on his trunks. I don't know if they just bought the ad space there, which would be
I
pretty
I
funny.
mean, I imagine that that's probably what happened because even like looking at the website, you just don't see
I don't
him
see him
listed,
anywhere.
which is weird because he's always wearing Ublos. Now maybe he was at one time too,
Yeah, that's
and
what I
these are
mean.
just
It could
like
have been a
older photos that because again, all this stuff is constantly changing. People fall out of favor, they get picked up by other companies, they move on to other deals. They start expanding into liquor and they do all these other crazy things like this is what happens all the time.
and I
This is how wealthy people stay wealthy. They diversify their assets.
right. I do believe I think Hublot is the official timekeeper of FIFA.
Of soccer, yeah, absolutely.
I
Yep.
mean, that's a big get.
And on all of their all the referees wear
Yes,
ublos.
I've seen that.
They
I
were
have seen
like I think they're like quartz digitalized ublos or something like that, if I remember correctly. But I think also the matches are timed with like official
yeah.
Hublot clocks, which is kind of cool. I mean, like that in some ways can be an ambassador, but I mean, if you're going to talk about timing, there's really no better brand with regards to sports timing than Omega. So we'll stick that one back in the corner because for me, the Olympics trumps everything.
Well, especially if you're talking stopwatches and that kind of timing. That makes sense.
But I mean, just
Seiko
in
did some of that at
general,
one point too.
they did. Yeah, they did, but not to the degree that Omega.
No,
There's
no.
literally not been a single brand that's done it to the degree of Omega, which is crazy, but it's so true. It's very true. Omega does a lot of crazy stuff with the Olympics, and they've invented a lot of very interesting technologies to time that. But that's for another show.
Well, speaking of, they have a pretty interesting and diverse bunch of people.
They do.
Obviously,
They do.
Daniel Craig is I think the one everybody would know off the top of their head, right? 007.
Yes, and what's interesting is Daniel Craig is an ambassador both as himself and when he was 007.
That's pretty sick, actually.
Yeah.
I would
So
like to
like
get
the
it.
007 character will be an ambassador as well. So whoever becomes a new 007, maybe when they announce that at some point in the future, they will become an ambassador as well.
Yeah, I would like to be an ambassador both as myself and Brodinky. That would be cool.
You heard it here first, Reynold. There you go. But yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy. I mean they have such an incredible pool of people. You got Phelps, Michael Phelps.
That's a big one.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And he himself, he even had his own little troubles with the spotlight and some other substances and things like that over the years. But Omega stuck with him as well because he's been a long time ambassador. I think he's been since like 2007, 2008, something like that. Like he's been a pretty long time.
Again, are
Um,
people going to remember he was a pothead, or people going to remember he's a 55-time gold medalist? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
I've met him, and he's
absurdly
truly
tall.
truly a freak of nature. Like his wingspan is
Yeah.
just unreal. So that was cool. But nice guy, actually. Nice guy. He
They've got their
wasn't
own
like a
stable of
jerk.
golfers too, right? They got Rory,
Yeah, Rory.
who a
You
lot of
got
people thought was
Sergio.
the next Tiger when he was young.
Yeah, right, for sure. And then most recently, Colin Morikawa is
That's a
with
nice
Omega.
get. He's very talented.
And he's young, man. He's a good get. He's a good golfer. He's won already a lot of pretty important stuff. Just in what I think it's been 2 years of actual professional tour play. Because I think he started right at the beginning of the pandemic. He finished college and then he decided to go pro. Because he was one of the golfers that actually finished all 4 years of college. He decided to stay on and finish all 4 years of college because in case he failed, then he still had his degree, which I think is actually kind of admirable, especially for somebody who's already that good at golf.
Yeah. The nice part
That's
is I
cool.
think you could do both. I feel like the golf season. I feel like you can play in whatever you want. When you're like professional, you're like, not gonna play in this one. I'll play in the next one.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, for sure. But can you imagine somebody who they go first couple years of college, they leave college and they go right into professional play, and then they get hurt or they get injured or something like that, and then like,
Well,
what do you do?
now it's nice. You get paid in college. Well, you get a share of some kind.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't really know all the rules now, but I know the NCAA has been all crazy with that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs either, but I guess it encourages people to stay in.
yeah.
That's good.
What else? What else? Other ambassadors, you got Moonwalkers, Buzz Aldrin, Charlie Duke. Gene Cernan was an ambassador at one point in time, but he passed away a couple years ago.
Colonel
Yeah.
Pogue? No.
Colonel Pogue, no, unfortunately, he's too busy wearing his busted Seiko in space. So,
And don't forget Clooney, speaking of space.
Clooney is on there. Some older actors as well. Cindy Crawford, her daughter Kaya is now an ambassador. So I mean, we could literally go on forever. There's so many with Omega. It's kind of crazy. But what's interesting is like they don't really post this stuff anywhere.
Not a ton, no.
No, but you know
Mostly
who
just
really,
Craig.
yeah. You know who I'd really love to see be an Omega ambassador. I'd really like to see Ryan Reynolds, and that's kind of weird, but I like the guy. I like his acting, and like in the last like 3 or 4 movies, he's worn Omegas. Like
You know what's
Speedmaster.
interesting? And I guess this must not be a recent thing then, because I saw something at one point he was involved with Piaget.
He was. He was. So
That's an interesting relationship.
yeah, it really was. And I think at the time both him and his wife Blake were ambassadors of Piaget. Which is interesting because I don't think I've ever heard of like a his and hers ambassadorship.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as I've been able to tell, that relationship has dissolved because and I'll tell you what when I noticed this. So I know he was an ambassador with Piaget, I think probably like 2019, 2020-ish. But then he had that movie that came out for Netflix, Six Underground.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw it.
No.
But it was a good movie. It was an ensemble cast movie, and basically like doing all these crazy stunts and like fast car driving, and it was entertaining. Like, is it the most thought provoking movie of 2020? Absolutely not. But it was enjoyable. It was high octane action, and it was really cool. But what was interesting is in that movie, he wore a completely like blacked out Chopard, which I was kind of like, well, if he's a brand ambassador for Piaget, like how is that make
That's
sense?
like
Because
direct competitor.
yeah, because he's like legitimately on screen wearing this movie, and it's one of those things like in the Omega Bond films, or like they do the like the wrist shot, like you see it, and it's like, oh, okay, like so it was like it was really interesting, and I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. And then, sure enough, I did a little research and nothing indicated that he was an active brand for Piaget. And then during the promotion of his film, Six Underground, he was traveling around the world doing all that kind of like talking that the major actors do for these movies. He was wearing a Speedmaster Dark Side of the Moon black. So like the fully blacked out version, like talking about the movie. And I was kind of like, that's also really weird.
Yeah.
Then I saw him in another like photograph online, and he had like a regular version of the Dark Side, so like the original version. So you got 2 Dark Side of the Moons. Come to find out, I think they were both gifts from his wife Blake. Don't know how or why, but that's kind of what I found out. And then I heard from somebody that he wore a Moonwatch or something like that in the Hitman's Bodyguard, and then most recently in his film Red Notice with Netflix, he wears the Speedmaster Dark Side of the Moon, black, like in the first half of the movie. And then now in his film, The Atom Project, he wears like the normal Speedmaster Moonwatch. Like in 4 films, like this guy has been wearing Omegas, which is like super like strange. So I don't know if he's like trying to get noticed and then become an ambassador for the brand. But sometimes that's kind of how you just got to like dive in head first. I don't know.
Yeah, Free Guy wouldn't have made sense because he's a bank teller who can't afford a $200 pair of shoes. So
yeah, I think he wears like a Casio or something in that movie. But it's the one where he's like in a video game, right? Is that the one?
It's kind of funny. I actually watched it one night.
Is it good?
It's okay. It's kind of corny, but like if you played games like GTA growing up, you're like, haha, I get it. Like,
Okay, okay. Yeah,
yeah,
because he's like in a video game. Like that's kind of the idea, right?
he's an NPC who gains consciousness, and it winds up leading into the
Okay.
actual plot of the movie. But it's like the guy, the kid, from Stranger Things, the guy Steve with the funny hair is in it.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, a bunch of other actors I couldn't name off the top of my head, but yeah, he's funny. He's always pretty funny. He's always got that wit.
I like his humor, man. I really do, because he's kind of got like this dry, witty humor about him,
Well, that
and like
delivery he's had since Van Wilder.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. It made him really good with Deadpool as well. Like I liked both of those films. So I don't know. I think he'd be kind of cool for Omega to get. So who knows? It's just like the writings on the wall there. It's like you don't wear that many watches in movies.
Unless you're just a really big fan of the brand.
And maybe, you know what? Maybe that's even the best ambassadorship.
I
Is
was
like
to
you
say, I
don't
don't
get
think that's out of the
compensated.
question.
No, I mean, no, I mean that, in today's modern world, like really anything is possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. But it's just a matter about, do you represent the brand well? Are you in the right kind of circles? Do you represent the right things socially, whatever? And maybe you'll become an ambassador.
Is that how you think Brad Pitt got his, or did he get picked up first?
Who knows?
Because people have always made
Because
it out like he's super passionate about Breitling.
and maybe he is. I really have no idea. Like I really have no idea. I do know that, like, with like George Clooney, like, and during one of my trainings when we were carrying Omega back in the day, um, they used to tell us a story. Like the Omega reps used to tell us a story that, like, God, how did it go? It's been so long since I've had to bring this up. That, like, I guess because George Clooney's an older guy now, but he was like growing up during the space program, and that like his father or his grandfather, something like that, had Omega Speedmasters. Like they purchased their own versions of this watch based on its usage during the space program. And I guess growing up, George wanted to be like a part of that. So the rumor is, and again, I don't know if this is true, but the rumor was that he used to like draw little Omegas on the dials of his like kids' watches because he wanted to be like his dad or his grandfather. And then when he became successful, that was like the first watch that he got was a Speedmaster, which is kind of cool because it's like it's not just like about like the paid endorsement. It's the fact that like he has a real connection to the brand that's like lifelong, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Now
like
that could be all
it's like
completely
playing for
BS,
it's
but
like playing for the team you grew up watching.
yeah, I mean, exactly right. Like, I mean, it could be completely all BS. I have no idea, but that's kind of what I've heard.
And then along with that, they have who? They have Adam Driver, right? Is it
Yeah,
Breitling?
Breitling does. Breitling does. Yeah, they have Charlize Theron, Adam Driver, Kelly Slater, the surfer.
Okay, I know who that is.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't really surfed like competitively in a long time, but he's now really focused on like his like side project social responsibility thing, Outer Known. So like they take like fishing nets and they recycle them into fabric and they
Oh,
turn
I've
them
heard
into
about that.
shirts and stuff like that. That's who's making their NATOs. So like the
Oh,
Breitling
that's
NATO
super cool,
straps,
actually.
yeah, they're all made by the company Outer Known, or they're sourcing the fibers from Outer Known to make the NATO straps, so that they're all made of recycled materials, especially from the ocean. And that's why too now, if you buy a Breitling over $20,000, you get a recycled fabric box.
Well, thanks.
So yeah, if you didn't know already, Breitling changed all of its boxes to like this recycled like packaging material, because now it's more ecologically conscious, because they did like a survey of like owners that were like, yeah, like most of us just throw our boxes away and we don't keep things. And I'm like, which watch collectors did you pull that information from?
Yeah, for real.
Because everyone I know is like boxing papers or nothing, especially now. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't really like a thing. but everyone I know is like boxes and papers. So like yeah, so like now if you buy like in a AD, you go buy a Breitling, they will give you a like recyclable material fold flat box instead of like a nice wood luxurious travel case box.
I have to sweet talk Sam, see if she can hook me up with a recycled box.
I hear a lot of people complain about that. A lot of my colleagues that are still in the industry are just like, this is so dumb. Like I understand that it's like good intentions, right? Like we're trying to, cut down waste and because the boxes can fall flat, they technically can ship more boxes in one box from Switzerland. So you don't have to ship as many. It lowers the carbon footprint, all these things. Like I get that. But how many people really want to have a recycled full flat box that are watch collectors? Because I'll be honest with you, if I buy a $9,000 Navitimer, that thing better come in a wood box. I mean, am I wrong?
No, I expect a nice box with my expensive watch.
I mean, you've owned a Breitling before, right, bro?
I have not.
I haven't either. But I remember back in the day. Did you ever see the packaging from the old Breitling?
My
Like,
buddy had one, and it came in a pouch, a zipper pouch.
so
It was a
I
Super
think
Ocean,
okay.
like all
But so
steel, blue dial.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But it was like a diving kind of like suit zipper type looking
Yes,
thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
might be like
That's why.
neoprene or something.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I think like the original boxes for Breitling, like especially like when like was it John Travolta was like really, big on, all that stuff and the big planes and everything.
Scientology.
Um yeah, Scientology and Breitlings. Um Speaking of another ambassador at one point in time who no longer represents the brand, um, Scientology kind of probably pushed him away. But anyway, regardless, at that time they used to have these sweet like wooden boxes, and they would open up, and inside would be like a leather travel pouch, like a leather travel roll. Before like travel rolls were really a thing,
Oh, okay.
and it was like a handmade leather pouch, and like you could store the watch in there, and it was like how the watch sat in the box, but like you could literally take it out of the box and then put it in your backpack or your travel bag or whatever, and take it with you everywhere. And so they got like rid of that, and so a lot of these like lifelong Breitling collectors are like, now I have this recycled cardboard box. Like, why? So sometimes ambassadors are not always a good thing.
Charlize was a good get for them though. If I'm trying to pick a lady ambassador, that's who I'm going with.
I mean, she is, but like, what has she really done recently?
Fast and Furious 8.
I mean, like, so like, yeah, she was like the bad person in the most recent Fast and the Furious movies, right? Um, and then I think she did like a Netflix film.
Oh, dude, she did Monster. You ever see that?
I never saw that film, but I
Bro,
think she did like
she put on like a bunch of weight and like really bummed it. It doesn't even look like her. It's crazy.
gotcha. And she was in this movie, the old. Did you ever see it? It was on Netflix called The Old Guard.
No.
It's about like people who can like never die, like they're immortal. And she's like this ancient like assassin type thing. It was kind of cool. It was like entertaining, but I wasn't like, oh yeah, this movie's amazing. You know what I mean? But it was like entertaining
Yeah, it didn't
for
rush
sure.
to the theaters for Atomic Blonde.
I know. So like, I mean, she's done stuff, but I mean, it's just like, has it been good? You know what I mean?
Movie stars are just popular, I guess, right? Even I know Tag had Thor for a minute,
Yeah. I don't
and
know
now
if he
they got the
still is with them
Gauze.
though. Now they have Ryan Gosling for sure, for sure. Did you? I was gonna ask you. Do you watch a lot of movies, bro?
When I had more time on my hands, I would just run through everything on Netflix or any streaming service when I just had like
Yeah,
my winters off and nothing to do.
yeah,
Now with the kids, it's more family oriented stuff, but
for sure.
I used to be big into it.
Yeah, because what did I see recently? I was on a plane traveling, and I watched that movie like The House of Gucci with
Oh yeah,
Adam Driver in it.
and Jared Leto.
Yeah, which is crazy, but um it was like good. Like it
Was
was
it?
kind of like interesting. Yeah. I was just thinking it was like gonna be like one of those movies that was kind of like, it's like okay. But it was like I was entertained. And I was also like surprised at like how like toxic and vile and like how much infighting there was in the family and like all this crazy stuff. It was crazy, but it
Well,
was
like
it was entertaining.
they couldn't decide if they charge $5,000 for a pair of shoes or $10,000. That was clearly the debate.
You know, certainly. And that's the thing too, is like what was interesting about this, and I'm gonna double check as well, because when I was looking at this, um, like Adam Driver didn't wear a Breitling in that film. But last time I checked, he was an ambassador, unless he's not unless he's not part of the film squad anymore. That's the other thing I found is really silly about Breitling is they call them squads. Like I'm like, it's so cringe. It's just like, why? Like why? You know?
Yeah, the Sith didn't wear Breitlings either.
Oh man. Let's see here. Our mission in the spotlight. Squad on a mission. God, it's so cringe. I'm sorry. Cinema Squad. Yeah, he's still on the page. So maybe they allowed him to wear something different if it was like historically accurate or something.
Or like a prop. Yeah.
Yeah, because he wore a Jaeger in the movie, I think is what I saw.
That's Benedict Cumberbatch's go to.
Yeah.
He's a JLC guy, as everybody saw in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, because somebody did like a Houdinki article about it. Yeah, he wears a reverso for sure. And speaking of former ambassadors, Lady Gaga was in that movie.
Whenever I think of Lady Gaga, I think of Kanye. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the clip of him. He's like talking about, I guess, how people get these associations, and he's like, Gaga. He's like, I like some of her songs. He goes, she's on the board for Polaroid. What the does she know about cameras? And I'm just laughing. I'm like, kind of true.
It is true, 100%. And dude, it's so crazy to think, you know, when I think about this movie, The House of Gucci, like Jared Leto in this movie looks nothing like himself,
He's another one. He's like Christian Bale. Like he just does wacky things.
but he's like a chameleon in this movie.
I
Like
watched a movie with him and Denzel not that long ago where he plays like a literally a janitor who is like a super creep potential murder suspect, and he let me tell you, he let himself go for that one. I think it was called The Little Things. That was an entertaining watch.
yeah, dude, I had to remind myself that was actually him, because it like he literally looks nothing like him in the movie. He has like no hair. He's like bigger. He's like
Yeah, same
older.
thing. Yeah.
It's just like it looks nothing like him. But wow, I thought his acting was good.
He's
That's
come a
for
long
sure.
way.
He's actually very talented. Like he's kind of one of those people that to me is like would be really kind of creepy to meet in person, but he's extremely talented. And I guess for him, like he naturally wears all that Gucci stuff. Like that's kind of like his wardrobe. So like maybe it's like the best way to be fully engrossed in the character.
Speaking of interesting Hollywood associations, what's up with Bradley Cooper and IWC? Is
I
he just likes their stuff, or
I think at one point in time he was like I think he was an ambassador.
They drop him over the Hangover.
I don't know, man. I really don't know. Because there's like a video of him from 2019 wearing a Petite Prince.
I mean, they've got some
Like
interesting ones too. They got
as
Chris
an
Evans.
ambassador. As an ambassador. So yeah, like is he still one? I have no idea because all of these articles are from 2019. So maybe he's not anymore because he was at one point for sure. I know that.
I know Tom Brady's with them.
But
That's kind of weird.
no, I think he's not. I think he's with
Is he?
isn't he with AP now?
I don't know. He was with them. I don't know if he still is.
Well, because Tom Brady was with somebody, and then
Well, I
I
think
think he was with Tag.
given his stake in certain companies and such that are related to LVMH, I think that might be weird. I know he used to wear a Monaco a lot.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. You are 100%. He is with IWC now. He was
But
with
he used
Tag
to wear
previously.
Monaco a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he was with Tag previously. That's right. He got picked up by IWC shortly afterwards. It's such a weird association. Like Tom Brady, IWC.
It doesn't
Just
strike
like,
me as an
okay,
IWC guy.
no, he doesn't. It's just I don't know. But for me myself, I'm not an IWC person. Like I remember when I first started getting the watches, I remember the allure of like the big pilot and just like this idea like this was the watch,
Yeah.
And like the more I've looked at it, I'm just like nope.
I've always been more of a
They're
chronograph
thick.
guy of theirs, Spitfire.
Yeah, but again, it's like the new ones are thick.
Yeah, if they made
For
those
many years
smaller,
they
I would
didn't
like
even
them a lot. But
many years they didn't even have in-house movements. They just recently started doing in-house movements. So like it's been a long time coming, a long evolution for them. So I mean, I don't know. And they do some crazy things with like perpetual calendars and stuff like that, but I'm just like, do you need that in a pilot watch? Or is it just now a flex for flex sake?
now that I'm thinking about
You know
it,
what I mean?
they might have crossed paths with Tom Brady because he was up in Foxborough and isn't the left field wall of the Red Sox IWC? I think it is.
I have no
So
idea.
they might have crossed paths in the Boston sports arena.
Maybe. But I legitimately have no idea. Sometimes these things happen organically. A lot of times they don't. And what are your thoughts about this white IWC big pilot, the Pantone, like the Lake Tahoe is what they're calling it?
I feel like if it was smaller, you could get away with it. I just think it's obnoxiously big, and it would look out of place, like I feel like a Richard Mille does in those white and strange colors.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's interesting. And especially at the price, man, it's so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's 11,000 Swiss francs.
And now I know ceramic's tough, but can you shatter a ceramic watch?
Yes, you can.
Oof.
You can, but I mean, think of it this way. And this I will, swell this misconception. You can shatter ceramic watch. I've only ever seen it happen one time, and it wasn't even a shattering. One guy chipped the lug of one of his ceramic watches. It was a Dark Side of the Moon, but he told me he got drunk and like fought somebody and like smacked it to like a marble table.
He
So
tried
like
to do
it's
the
like
Craig and
okay.
put it over his hand like a brass knuckle. Definitely.
I mean, you know, at that point, like literally anything would be damaged. Because here's the thing: if you took a ceramic watch and you threw it into a brick wall, like can you shatter it? Cool, yeah, probably. You took a stainless steel watch and you threw it in there, it's gonna dent it to hell. At that point, the movement's probably gonna need servicing too. You know what I mean? Like, so everything's gonna have limitations. But in all the years that I was working in the stores, like I never saw anybody have a broken ceramic watch. Now, is that all ceramic watches? No. Like you buy a Chanel J12, those babies will break for sure. because just like there's different methods of producing ceramics that exist in the market as well. And a lot of brands will use a very common method that's based on like molding. It's like you take a liquefied form of ceramic and then you inject it into a mold and then you bake it, but it breaks. It's not a superior method to creating ceramic. So there you go. Not that that has much to do with ambassadors, but I don't want anybody to think that like, buying a ceramic watch is somehow going to be less stable and less secure. I mean, this
Well,
is
no,
not like
people
a
wouldn't be
it's not
making
like a
dye
dinner plate.
bezels. People wouldn't be making dye bezels out of it if it wasn't up to the task.
Exactly. Exactly. Ceramic is a fantastic watch material. It's just very difficult to make.
Any other big ones that stuck out at you in your hunt for ambassadorship?
No, not really. I mean, I feel like brands do some crazy things with some cool ambassadors, and I feel like a lot of people that are in tune with being ambassadors are always kind of, it's like the same circle of people. It's kind of like they're, as you said, there's like a revolving door. I thought it very interesting uh to see Ryan Gosling got with Tag
Yeah.
of all companies. I thought that was very interesting. I don't know if this is just like they paid him an absurd amount of money or whatnot, but I know he's worn like vintage Rolex, he's worn vintage Omega in his movies, and then for him to like go with like contemporary Tag was just very strange for me. That didn't really make sense. And I'm wondering if maybe he's using it as like a springboarding platform to like launch himself into another brand or something like that. Like who knows? Because like now he has the reputation that he's done it before, you know. But I have no idea. I just thought that was very interesting, and like for the Carrera to be his watch, not the Monaco, not the like vintage Carrera, the Carrera three hand. I just thought it was so weird.
Yeah, and I wonder what he thought about that given his role in First Man.
Yeah, the guy literally wore a moon watch. He was literally Buzz Aldrin. I'm sorry, Neil Armstrong. Like, how do you play Neil Armstrong and not wear an Omega? You wear a Carrera and a three-hander at that. That was so weird to me.
Yeah, I did come across some that were very on
So
the
strange.
nose. Like I Luminox picked up Bear Grylls. That just makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, he's actually been with them forever.
Yeah.
I think it's been like 10 years or something like that. He's been making Bear Grylls Luminoxes. I'm sure at some point, like if it really comes down to a pinch, you could probably melt down the carbon case and eat it, or use it to like to retain your piss so you can like drink it
I
later
was gonna say he
for
probably
saving
has
your
drank
life.
a lot of urine wearing a Luminox.
So I mean, who knows? And what's funny though is I do like those watches a lot. I think they actually look pretty cool. They're just ginormous.
Yes, they're
Like
big.
all of them are like 46 millimeters. I'm like, come on, guys. In the wilderness, I want things sleek and compact, not gigantic.
Maybe it's so you can be spotted from aircraft.
Maybe that's crystal turns into like a reflector device and you can signal, you can Morse code airplanes.
Or the larger surface area is better for starting a fire
I,
using
may,
solar.
maybe, you know what? Yeah, maybe. I, let's see. Is he still? I think he's still with them. Let's see here. Luminox Bear Grills, baby. And then I'll have like compasses mounted to them and stuff. But they're not cheap, man.
No.
They are not cheap. They're like, I think the lowest one I'm seeing right now is by 400 or 500 Swiss francs, and the highest goes up to like 700 or 800. Yeah, but they're all 45 millimeters. My gosh, it's a big watch. There is now a 42, I guess, but it's still a big watch, man. 45, 42. That's a lot of money, dude. Like for that, and it's quartz, and like for that price, buy a turtle or something. It'd be just as reliable. You know? What about you, bro? You got any last ambassadors you want to impart?
At some point, kind of on the low, and I mean this again is also very on the nose, makes perfect sense. Seiko picked up Shohei Ohtani as an ambassador.
Who's that?
Come on, who's that? Shohei Ohtani is probably the most well-known baseball player on the planet right now. He
Oh,
hits and pitches like well. Like he's not the goat pitcher, he's not the goat hitter, but he pitches very well and he hits 40 bombs a year. He's like
I'll be honest with you. I have not watched Major League Baseball in a very long time.
he's like the bee's knees of baseball right now. Like he's on the cover of the show. And Hodenki actually wrote an article about him and his connection, and like the entire comment section was just so ridiculous. It was just a bunch of, I don't know who this is. What's baseball? I'm like, dude, I was like, this is exactly what is wrong with this platform. Not only that, but they're like, baseball is just a US sport. Meanwhile, like 40% of the league almost is foreign players, spanning from
Yeah, that doesn't even
Central
make
America
sense.
to Japan and everywhere in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Even I know that. I remember when Ichiro Suzuki came over, like all those
He
years
was
ago before he
enormous.
retired. But like it was like a big thing because he was like a crazy player. He had the slapstick bat style. I remember like that was a big deal. But like baseball is extremely an international sport. Like it was made here in the United States, but it's been adopted worldwide
I mean,
for
there's a
sure.
World Baseball Classic.
Yes, and
Sure,
I
a
actually
lot of
do like
the
watching that.
a lot of the Caribbean countries in the U.S. are a little better than like let's say the Netherlands, but they play baseball in the Netherlands. Like that's a thing.
Absolutely,
They have a
absolutely.
professional league there. They have a professional league in Australia, Italy. It's actually much more widespread than people think. Korea, even the Little League World Series. You see how many countries participate in that? Like Chinese
Oh yeah,
Taipei
for
has a team,
sure.
and
Yeah,
they're
for
good.
sure. They're always good.
That's a big get for them because he is on that once in a generation type player thing that like all the other people we were talking about have. Like
Yeah.
for him to not go somewhere else. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand Japan, it's his home. But, when the money starts flowing in, you got your pick of the litter.
Yeah, for sure. He's he wearing regular Seiko or is he wearing Grand Seiko?
I believe he's a just plain old Seiko ambassador.
I got you. So Presage, prospects, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't see any ads or anything with him like wearing it, but like I said, Hodenki put out a big article about it and why it was a big deal. And, I had a rage fit over the comment section.
Oh, Houdinki.
That
What
one
are we
wasn't
gonna
on
do with
them.
you?
That was on the readers.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I mean, it's also on their subscribers, right? Like these are the people that gobble up this content and they don't even know. I mean, I will be the first one to admit I don't either, but I'm also not trying to alienate other people that might know. Like
Well,
that.
here's what rubbed me the wrong way. A lot of the people were like, "Oh, it's not an international sport. I watch tennis or golf was another one." And I'm like, I don't know if you know this, but like if you walk down the street and ask people who Tommy Fleetwood is in the US, like not a lot of people are going to know. He's fairway Jesus, but not a lot of people are going to know that. You ask a lot of people in the US who Shohei Ohtani is, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, he's that Japanese guy. He pitches and hits."
I know who Tommy Fleetwood was or
Fairway
is.
Jesus. I'm astounded he got
He,
away with that look. I mean, now golf is a little more liberal, but like they used to be very like clean cut dress code. Like he's got like the
yeah,
long hair and the beard. Like when I saw him, I was like, I like this guy.
yeah, and he also used to be with Omega. He was an ambassador for Omega for a hot minute, and then he joined Tag. Now he's wearing Quartz digital watches.
Well, I guess that's why he's fairway Jesus, not green Jesus. All right. And if you,
Fairway Jesus, huh?
yeah, you ever
Yeah,
think
because
about
he's not like.
who you'd pick up as an ambassador if you were a watch company?
I mean, I already gave my 2 cents. If I was Omega, I'd be picking up Ryan Reynolds. I think that'd be a cool pick. Oh, we forgot they Tag Heuer does have Patrick Dempsey. Oh, Mr. McDreamy himself.
Do they make a medical watch?
Do they make a medical watch?
I'm
No,
kidding.
but
He's a
he's always like
doctor.
try. Yeah, I know, for sure. But yeah, he's all about that Carrera.
Does he have a pulsations dial bezel? Something?
Nope, it's got a tacky. It's got a tacky.
Yeah. I would probably pick Scarlett Johansson. Not for any good reason, but just so I could be in the same room as her.
ScarJo. That's who your pick would be.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's Black Widow.
I mean, but I also heard that movie wasn't very good.
Black Widow movie. I don't know. I didn't watch that to be honest. But all the other Avengers movies she was in, she was great.
Okay. I'm not a big Marvel person or superhero movie person. I understand. Although I will say this, you know who my favorite ambassador really is? It's just not somebody anybody's gonna guess. I mean, obviously you guys know I love Omega. My favorite ambassador is Victor Vescovo, which is like somebody that nobody knows. Have you heard about Victor?
Nope.
He's the guy that broke the world record for the deepest dive of any human on planet Earth
Oh, well, that makes
to the,
sense.
to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. He broke James Cameron's. Well, James Cameron never really set the record, but originally in the 1960s, he had basically guys from the U.S. Navy, Don Walsh and his crew, and they basically dove down there to the bottom of the Marianas Trench for the first time into Challenger Deep, and then James Cameron went back down, and he achieved essentially the same depth, and then Victor went down and he dove. I think the final record was 10,935 meters.
Jeez.
It's like 35,000 feet. Okay, it's insane. All right, this guy did it, and it was his expedition. He self-funded it, and he started out, from what I've heard, as a client of Omega before he became an ambassador, which is very cool.
What did he wear? Let's add
So,
it.
his original watch was a Planet Ocean chronograph in titanium.
Chronograph, huh?
Yeah, Planet Ocean chronograph. Story goes he wanted something to time like his ascents and descents and his time exploring the bottom. So he needs something that could track elapsed time for a consecutive amount of time. So something that would be longer than just say your average dive bezel could measure, which is pretty cool.
Very interesting.
And then based on him is how we got the Ultra Deep.
I was gonna say he probably has one of those now.
Yeah. He actually has one of the original prototypes. He has
Yeah,
one.
I don't think people know that it's not necessarily a new watch.
No, because I mean the original version came out in 2019, and it was like a prototyped version of the watch, and essentially the way it goes, from what I understand, is Victor buys this watch, talks about how he's going to do this diving expedition. And essentially, what he wanted to do was dive all 5 of the deepest parts of the oceans around the world. Okay. Which had never been done before by anybody, like at all. And Marianas Trench had been dove, but none of the other 4 oceans had a major parts of the deepest parts dove by anybody, and certainly not consecutively. So he wanted to do this. He had already had 2 successful dives completed. He went to an Omega store somewhere in the world and basically talked to them, bought this watch, and then he became like on Omega's radar, I guess. And then they built him a watch. And it wasn't like they, had this watch, like they made it custom from scratch and then had him dive it. And that watch was able to handle 10,935 meters because it was strapped to the outside of the submersible on the robotic arm. So now Omega has the world record for the deepest diving watch in history, which is cool.
Suck it, deep sea.
Yeah. And now the new Ultra Deep collection, which we touched on previously in a few other episodes, is kind of taking that same technology and making it mass market available. 6,000 meters, 20,000 feet. It's the ultimate dive watch.
One would think.
So Means I have to get one. I just
Omega
don't. I
steel
just
or titanium?
I don't know. I'm in love. Honestly in love with both. The blue to black gradient dial and the Omega steel is really nice.
Which one
Um,
does the orange bezel come on?
it's Omega steel, yeah, and that one has like a gray to black gradient. And then the titanium one is essentially the closest you're gonna get to the like what they call the concept version. It was like the one that they made for Victor to dive, a prototype, if you will. Um, but yeah, I've seen photos online and on the forums and everything on for both the Omega Steel and the titanium version. I don't know which one I like better. I think I like the colors overall of the titanium one, but for me, the Omega Steel is kind of alluring because it's like a new steel that hasn't been used before. So that's kind of cool. But I'm not sure.
I think the real question on everybody's mind is when does the bioceramic come out?
I have so many feelers trying to get me a dang moon swatch. It's unbelievable. I'm sure for you as well. I just want that watch to be done already. Just so I can put it in my box and just be like, okay, I have my moon swatch. I got it. It's done. Like I can move on. I just keep thinking about it. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
It's your white whale.
I mean, at this point, it is, and like, I want the one, of course, that like everybody wants, and it's not for any other reason because, like, they just want it because it's cool, but I want it because like it makes sense to me. But yeah, I'll never get it probably. So at this point, I'll just settle for any color
I'll
as
just
long as
pony
it's
up
not,
$600.
as long as it's not Venus. I think it'll be okay.
I don't know, man. That journey to the sun is kind of.
I've seen live shots of it, and I actually think it looks much better in the live shot.
It reminds me of the guy who hangs out with Curious George,
With his yellow
the
suit
man in
and
the yellow
safari
hat.
hat. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I could see that. I could see that. That's actually not, that makes sense. But I don't know. I don't know. There's something endearing about it. But I think that's kind of universal for the entirety of the collection. Like, there's just something enduring about it, like endearing. That's just cool. You know, it just looks like something that's unusual and different, and it looks good. And for me, I would wear it. But again, it's also a watch that's not supposed to take itself too seriously. So when you do wear it, it's just kind of like that's just the time you do it. But that's it. That's all I got.
Just waiting to get my hands on Uranus.
I was talking with somebody and I was like, they asked me, like, do you think they did it that intentionally? I'm like 100%. 100%. I would just love to have been in that conversation watching the Omega product designers work with the Swatch product designers, and we're like, we're gonna make a watch called Mission to
They
Uranus, and
definitely
we're
saved that one for last. They had them all lined up, and everybody's waiting. They're like, they're not going to do it. They're not going to. Nope. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Mission to Uranus.
they totally did it, and I think it is the most hilarious thing. And of course, they would put it in the Tiffany blue, glacier blue, whatever the hell you want to call it, with that slogan literally on the case back. Mission to Uranus. It's a troll of trolls, and I love it.
Schmidt, I have a confession to make.
Did you already get one?
No, 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 no. When you said Tiffany blue, and it reminded me.
What did you get now?
I'm a simp now. Not on purpose. I bought something, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought in the renders it was a little more seafoamy, a little greenish.
Did you buy a Doxa?
No, 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 no. Something else we've talked about. Not that seriously.
Oh man, you got one?
Yeah. It's kind of should I get off the pot with these. I'm holding up Autodromo Group B. And yeah,
Yeah.
this is pretty pastel-y. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is going to be like an epic summer watch, and I've always wanted one of these, and I was really mad I missed out on the Corsica. But yeah, this is pretty pastel blue.
Yeah. So is it a little bit lighter than you thought it was gonna be?
It's a little more blue than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was
Oh,
going to
you thought
be
it was gonna be
like
more green,
just a little more greenish.
but I like it.
No,
You've been on
it's
a
really nice. I can't hate on it at all.
you've been on a buying spree, bro. You're on a
Well, I
micro
went on a
buying
very
spree.
large selling spree, if you know what I mean. So,
Yeah, I know.
but I am enjoying this a lot. The bracelet's actually really, really good. I thought it was going to be a hair puller.
And that one actually looks darker than the one my buddy
It
has.
is. This is darker metal,
Darker, yeah,
but it contrasts with the dial very well.
yeah.
But this is going to be one heck of a summer watch.
I was sizing it. I remember it was kind
Actually,
of difficult when I did it.
surprisingly easy, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's just your standard friction pin.
Have you sized it already yet?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I honestly can't remember. It's been so long since my buddy got that watch.
And I was worried. I don't even know what you call these kind of lugs. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like fixed, sort of. But I was worried
Yeah,
that they
because
were
they're
going to
like
be
fixed to the case.
right. I was worried they were going to be annoying, but no, they really do hug pretty nicely.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very thin watch.
It is, which I
And
do
it
enjoy.
wears really well. And it's relatively light, you know?
Yeah, this was exact. I mean, I had held one before, but it also didn't have a movement. The one I held at windup.
Oh, really? So it's just like a dummy watch.
Yeah, because I don't know if you remember, I told you the story about how my buddy picked it up and tried to pull the crown out, and it came all the way out, and he was like, "Crap."
Oh, okay. But I don't think you ever told me that it didn't actually have a movement inside of it.
No, yeah, it was a dummy.
Okay. Damn. That would have been hilarious.
He literally looked at the girl and
I
was
mean,
like,
not
"Do I hand you my credit card now?"
that awkward moment when you're like, help me, please.
I did have an interesting experience at that windup. I watched a guy wearing an AP by a microbrand watch.
Maybe he's just in the watches, man.
It was a Dietrich. I think he just
Okay.
likes angular.
I mean, that just makes
geometry.
sense, though. Yeah. I mean, that's just a funky watch to begin with, so it's kind of like it makes
I was
sense.
more just like, what the hell are you doing here?
Hey, man, he just wanted to check it out. Just want
This
to be
is
where all
in
the cool
Vempe?
kids were, okay? This is in Vempe. I mean, we'll see how long Vempe stays along because they're losing Rolex. So
I just remember in Uncut Gems where he tells the guy to go hawk he gives the guy a Rolex in a box and he tells him to go to Vempe and hawk it.
yeah, that was a crazy movie. Talk about an interesting movie. That was an interesting movie. There you go. Ambassadors. Autodromo. You have two people that would certainly love to be ambassadors for your brand.
Yeah, I think not gonna lie, a white, black, and red Autodromo would look pretty darn good.
White, black, and red. Oh, bro. Oh, man, no, I want a wrist cheese radio Autodromo.
Oh, that's
what I
right up
want.
their alley with the pink,
I mean,
blue, and
I'm talking. We're just
purple?
talking a little bit of a few color tweaks. You know, some
it would be
some
similar
inverted
to
colors.
the Corsica, but actually, you know what? I want the dial to be purple. They don't make purple dial watches very often,
They don't.
right? So you need pink, blue, purple. Give me purple dial.
What would you do as the accent colors then?
I guess pink and blue.
Huh.
Well, you could do the hour and the minute hand one color, and then the second hand is metallic, but it has a colored tip. So I feel like you can get away with the colored tip being the third color. I think I can make it work. I think it would look good. That or you just make the indices the other color.
There you go, Autodromo. You heard it
Yeah.
here.
Make that shit happen. I also
be
had
happy
I had to mention this because otherwise you were going to find out on my wrist check pod appearance, and then you were going to have another situation like last week with Nevada.
Jesus. So you talked about this one on the podcast as well.
I brought a couple things with me just because, like, I don't always plan things out. Like I was just like, all right, I'll bring a few things, and we get to it. And I was like, let me bring some interesting stuff that maybe people haven't seen. Like, people have seen a Speedmaster, people have seen,
Yeah.
an SKX. So I was like, Autodromo was like out there. That's fun. Anyways,
Cool, man.
yeah, I do think that's it for today.
I'm good if you're good.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with us for another episode of the Rich Cheese Radio Podcast. This is episode 26, wrapping up. Bro, anything else you want to tell the good folks at home?
Happy Easter for all you folks that are celebrating.
Happy Easter. Yes, of course. Can't forget that. As Bro mentioned, we are recording the day before Easter, so happy Easter to everybody, and we'll catch you on
Peace.